All right, so thank you and welcome to Monday Night Chat with SK. Tonight I have my two wonderful co-hosts, Kathleen Daniel and Danixa Carr. Kathleen Daniel is a lifelong advocate in Brooklyn Night, who has, advocated for multiple um, movements. She is a movement builder. She's a movement fighter. She's a movement. Uh, she's just all movement. Kathleen has been a part of some major tables. She sat at some major tables. She was on the team with Eric Adams when he was the borough president of Brooklyn, who is now New York City's mayor. She has been the director of NYC Census 2020, which got us all counted in 2020 during a pandemic when she had to lead the charge on thousands of staff and keep them calm, healthy, safe, and ready to go while challenging a pandemic. Can we mute ourselves to make sure that there's no background noise if we're not speaking? She has also done some amazing work in education. So that just shows you who Kathleen is. So her opinion is very valid on this topic. She's a Black Girl Magic ambassador. She's raising a Black girl and has been a part of a lot of, she's a Sora. So she has been putting a lot of her self into the idea of building Black women in this country. So let's give it up for Kathleen. All right. So somebody's actually clapping. That's cute. Um, Next we have Danixa. Danixa is my bestie. Danixa is also an all-star Black Girl Magic ambassador. Danixa is someone who knows, understands, and has been very intentional about understanding the authenticity and the fabric of the Black woman. Danixa is someone who's bold in her approach in being a Black woman. She has, Danixa is how you say Danixa? Her mom is Panamanian, and
Yeah.
so she how do you define yourself, your identity? I don't want to
Uh,
get it
uh,
wrong.
no worries. It's Afro Latina.
Afro Latina. So she identifies herself as an Afro Latina. So she brings so much to the fore because a lot of people separate the Latina community from the Black community in so many different ways. So the fact that she is saying, no, I am all in everything, respect me as everything, is amazing to me because we're not just one, right? Um, we are so many different things. Also, Danixa is working on her master's to be a school guidance counselor for young people and will more than likely be working with Black young women in her career moving forward. So let's give it up for Danixa. All right. So tonight's conversation, the topic is protecting the Black woman. So I'm just gonna give a little bit of my opinion, and I know you all see my cat in the background. He's just, here as security. So you don't mind him. So my opinion of this idea of Black women protecting the Black woman. So just to give precedence around why this topic is important at this time in this moment, right, and why we decided to do this talk around it. So we all know recently there was a big issue at the Oscars with Will Smith and Chris Rock, where Will Smith, in an attempt to protect his wife, who was a Black woman, from a joke that was said by Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars, he smacked Chris Rock in the face because he said something about his wife's hair. Um, now, the reason why this topic connects to that is because a lot of people are on social media saying, oh, well, he was protecting his woman. Social media has attacked Black women for so many years. Comedians have attacked Black women for so many years. And, although that may be true, the idea of protecting Black women in this way kind of rubbed me the wrong way, right? For various reasons. And we'll talk about other reasons because I don't want to use this platform to promote anything that any celebrity does because this is not their platform. This is our time to talk. However, just to point on why I think that that's not to me it rubs me the wrong way because I did have someone in my life that protected me in that way, right? Would use their hands, would rough people up to protect me. But those same hands they use to protect me against someone else, they use to strike me. So that in itself says, is that person self control or lack of self control about protecting me? Or is that something that they're trying to protect within themselves or trying to hide about themselves? The other thing that rubs me the wrong way about that statement, or the idea that that act of courage or protection is needed, is that I felt that it was an act of ego, not an act of courage or protecting, right? There's so many things that Black women need to be protected from that don't require you putting hands on somebody. And we'll get deep into that. But one thing to really note is, our reproductive systems. We need protection from that. We need men in Washington writing letters saying, leave them alone, let them have their own choice, right? We need that type of protection. We need protection from having to raise children on our own. Not that we can't do it, doesn't mean we should do it, right? We need protection from
We can't hear you, Shimona. We lost audio. We can't hear you.
in addition to that, just quickly, everybody, can you mute yourself? In addition to that, we have a Black woman who is running, or is basically in hearings to be the Supreme Court judge, right? And all of us need to have our hands around her. All of us need to have our prayers around her. All of us need to understand, evaluate, research everything to help this process, because this is a moment in history that could be great for us, right? And Cory Booker, I think it was, that spoke on her behalf, and everybody was like, oh my God, Cory Booker, we needed him to speak up for her and protect her, be there for her. So this this protecting Black woman is buzzing all over the country right now. So we need to understand what that looks like, because the two are very different. A smack on stage and saying to her, I see you, I'm here for you, at a hearing, are two different types of protection. And I'm not here to say what's right or what's wrong. I just need to understand, if we really understand what that means, right? Additionally, what people fail to realize is that hip hop and the entertainment industry are the public announcement for our culture, whether we want to believe it or not. That sensory, when they say things and the messages they send out, goes in the ears of our community, and they take action in one way or another, right? So we need to be careful. And that sensory also goes into other cultures on how they're going to approach us. So what messages are we sending out in these acts of protecting Black women about how to address Black women? So that's my bit. I'm going to now pass it on to my co-host for their perspectives. So Kathleen, what is your take on protecting the Black woman?
When we talk about protection, because that can be a loaded word, right? We protect, we work towards preservation of what we love and what we value. And it's time that includes the Black woman. It's time. We should no longer be undervalued and taken for granted or become the afterthought. Because if you think about it, throughout history, in all things, the Black woman comes last. Okay, the Black woman is the last one to come up to be appointed to the Supreme Court. When it came down to voting rights, it was white men and then white women who we tried to fight right alongside, but they made us stand in the back then too. But before then, it was the Black men got the vote, and we only, as Black women, got the vote because it was just too much work to keep us out, in all honesty, right? Because we were not included when women got the vote. We're always the afterthought. So it is about love, about protecting and preserving what and whom we love, cherish, and value. And hello, me, it's my turn. Me too. Include us now, and let's come to the forefront of the ranks. But what you said, you made a lot of salient points, Shimona, and I agree with them all. When we look at protection, what does that really look like, and in what context, right? And there's so many contexts in which we need to be protecting and preserving the people we value, the women and the girls in the Black community. And that means, and let's just be honest, that means recognizing the truth of the shortcomings of the world. It means watching your young girls and not letting them sit on the lap of any cousin, uncle, friend, neighbor, none of them, because monsters walk on two legs, okay? It's time to be aware, because we know things go on. It's time to stop turning a blind eye and thinking, not in my house, not in my family. Don't go through the shock later, go through the protective stance now. We all need to behave around our little girls like we do on a subway platform in the city. You're watching your back. You're not going to tune out. Treat them like you're crossing the street with them, and that at any moment, a car will not obey the rules or a driver will lose control. And we need to protect their virtue and their dignity in the same way around the people we also love. Number one. Number two, protecting the Black woman is not an implication that she is weak. No. The life bridges, the nurturers, the life bearers. No, we're far from weak, but we could use a break. And so we need to be protected like Cory Booker. He stepped up, spoke out, and said to her, I see you. He can't answer those questions for her. He can't take the hot seat for her, but he could give her a break and uplift her so that she could continue to go through and get to the goal, so that she could continue to endure. He allowed her to have a beat while he beat his hands in applause before the world. That protected her and built her up and gave her a reprieve for just a brief moment. And it wasn't really brief because Cory went on for a minute, right? Thank you, Cory. Saw that, recognized that. And so protecting the Black woman is standing in the gap for her. And sometimes all we need you to do is applaud. All we need you to do is see us, because sometimes the mule of the world needs to be able to sit down and take a break. And I, as a single working mom, not the job I applied for, real talk, not the job I applied for. There's nothing wrong with being a single mom, but that's not what I signed up for. It is what happened. It is the end result. And so I worked the hell out of it, but I'm tired. And my children deserve more than exhausted mom. There are so many women on my staff that have so many challenges with childcare because the dad is just not there to help out, to pick them up from school, or to help them with their homework or when they're sick. So protect us from exhaustion and extreme burnout, because we brought forth the life, but not alone. It took two to make that baby. And so why should it be left to me and Jesus? No. Protect me from burnout, because nobody has your back, brothers, like we do. Nobody. We also need to protect women. We need to protect ourselves. We need to not always be in the defensive stance, but in the protection and nurturing stance. And that it starts with love. All of this protection is about love. We need to love and nurture and care for ourselves so that we are not so concerned and insecure and drained that we have to tear down another system, or that we have to allow and settle for the worst possible people to come into our lives and wreak havoc or make victims of our children because we are so desperate for that fleeting momentary break. Okay, so protection is equivalent to love, and it is time that I'm not going to tell you who to love or how to, but that we need to love the Black woman.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you. So Danixa, let's hear your take on protecting the Black woman. Let's hear your take.
Sure. One of the things that comes to mind is respect. I think throughout history, and especially with the history on this side of the hemisphere, Black women we haven't had that respect that we deserve. We're nation builders. It was us, it was our offspring and generations, going forward, who really built the civilizations on North America and South America. And I think that sometimes the disrespect of Black women is tolerated, and it's not okay. It's like, how would you feel if you were to be denigrated day in and day out because of your appearance, because of what you're saying, or how you express your emotions? So I think number one, it should go to respect. And I think number two is, in respect, we should respect each other. And alluding to what Kathleen said earlier, it's not about tearing down another sister, because sometimes, and I say sometimes because in my life it's always been a Black woman. She could be from Kenya, she could be from El Salvador or Detroit. It doesn't matter. It's always been a Black woman for me who's been there. But sometimes on the flip side, it can be us tearing each other down or really making it hard for the other woman, and not realizing that when we do that, we kind of tear ourselves down in a way, and we disrespect ourselves. So it's just making sure that we respect each other and kind of step in, and not to be like a fangirl of sorts, because we need accountability. But if someone is, stepping in and they're being disrespectful, coming in and saying, hey, that's not cool, instead of just being a bystander and not doing anything. And I think three is something like, it needs to be on a policy level. We need more policies that say that we respect Black women, because we can't say that we respect Black women when, for example, the mortality rates for Black women are higher in hospitals. Um, our health outcomes are not great compared to other counterparts. So it's making sure that while it's nice to have symbolic gestures, we need to have concrete policy changes to really show that we do, in fact, respect Black women.
Awesome. Thanks, Danixa. So, you've heard from three Black women, right? And we all have some similar perspectives, and we all have some very different points of triggers. So that leads me to my next line of um question. So, you know, I'm exhausted, like you said, Kathleen, because the other thing that comes up for me is that the hurt and assault that has been done to us, that has led us to this idea, or led us to the place where we need protection. We've been needed protection, right? And not protection, like you said, because we're weak. But when we're talking about preserving, like Danixa said, preserving the Black woman and making sure that she can um, be as strong and as authentic and as how you say it, as precious as she is today in the future, because believe it or not, we are cooking up our next generation at this very moment. We are nurturing our next generation in this very moment, right? For what they're going to produce in the future, right? So with that said, because now, Danixa, Kathleen, and I although we're in, we're different ages, our age groups have gone through different, attacks, right? But some were still similar and some carried on, right? My mom's generation carried on some stuff to mine and my sisters, and my generation, of course, is carrying on some stuff to my daughter and her generation. So, with that said, one of the things that comes up for me is we also got to own our stuff. And I think Kathleen alluded to this. We got to own our stuff. We got to do the work as well to heal some of that pain, because we're not going to always be protected, right? And if we're carrying around that pain and we're expecting certain type of outcomes and we're behaving in certain type of ways, history is only going to repeat itself. And what I mean by that, and we talked about this in depth, Kathleen, about the auntie sitting on this person, that person lap. But what is happening to where we think that is certain behaviors are okay? Like, not that we let me fix that. Not that they're okay, right? What do we need to do in order to change certain behaviors and the acceptance of them, right? Or not so much even the acceptance, not doing anything about them. Like, just to call it plain and simple, right? We see the thing. We know that in the past it hurt us. But although we know that in the past it hurt us, we stand by and kind of just not take any action. So what do you think about, like, the our accountability and the trauma that comes with it? Does it have anything to do with protection, right? How do we protect ourselves is what I'm trying to allude to. Danixa, you can go first on this one. How do you feel we can protect ourselves, knowing what we know, with the pain and triggers and everything that we already have? How do we now operate and move forward to protect ourselves?
I think it's important to kind of not only have that information, but be able to act on it and also feel empowered to act on it. Because sometimes if we don't feel empowered, we won't act or take the necessary steps to empower ourselves. And I think too, it's best to empower others with that information, because by protecting yourself, you're also protecting other people. But if you spread the word, even if you feel like it might be some, minor piece of information to you, that information might be able to protect a Black woman, and she might be able to, for example, learn how to refinance your home a lot better, or might provide a resource to help her out. So I believe that protection is not only best individually, but you protect yourself as an individual when you band together and you share information among other people. So I think as Black women, it's important for us to share that information and also to create networks. I really like the last ask that you had, Shimona, in which you had asked people um, just to create our own circles of um I guess having conversations with other women in our lives, and that creates a chain. So if more women would create circles within circles to share pertinent information, it can actually help out a lot of us.
Okay, I think I heard most of that. Let me, because for some reason it's breaking up on my end, so I'm just gonna try to paraphrase what Danixa say in case anyone didn't hear it. She said, building networks and circles within, with other women to, kind of support each other. Whatever resource you have or whatever strength you have, you then use that to help another sister, to help another woman. Um, and just building connections and communicating. Am I right, Danixa? Is that kind of what you were talking about?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay. So Kathleen, same question to you. how do you like, with, like I said, with all that we know, with our triggers, with our pain, how do we now create ways to protect ourselves?
The one is just being honest, right? So honesty, integrity within for ourselves, within ourselves. You know, women, sister girls, if we treated, if a man treated us the way we treat ourselves, breaking commitments, um, uh, not being committed, you know, over promising, letting ourselves down, not taking care of ourselves, not paying attention to ourselves and our own pain, we would be like, break up with him, leave him, right? And we don't consider that ourselves, right? So we have to be that primary love relationship for ourselves. And then others will join in and be part of that experience, right? Because everybody wants love and to be loved, and we don't give that to ourselves. So this is my year of the oxygen mask, right? We have been lied to, bamboozled, and hoodwinked about the true definition of selfish, because I have never, rarely do I ever hear of a man being called selfish of any race, but I hear that assigned to women. If a mom does something for herself, oh, that's selfish. You got to put the children first. Wait, no, why am I the only one? No, the whole society has to put the children first. The children are the future for everybody, right? So I can take a break. I can have somebody
Give them
else
your piece of chicken.
me, right? Thank you. So you know, this is part of the reality. So integrity, honesty, and love, right? This is how we protect ourselves. We have to prioritize ourselves and put on our oxygen mask so that we can be of good and do good. And everyone in the world needs to back up and allow us to do that, right? And if you have people that are suffocating you and not disallowing this, then take a step back from them. We also have to be anti-isolation. Okay. I think that one of the worst things that happen is that we allow ourselves to be isolated. Okay. And we do that ourselves by, I can't be telling people about my business. I can't be overexposed. And we do not share our experiences. But the thieves share best practices with each other. The abusers share best practices with each other. But we sit in silence because we don't want anybody to know, because there's shame and stigma. If somebody got one over on you, then you're a fool. No, you're a human being. And things happen along your journey, lessons and blessings. That's really all it's about. And so if we as women shared more as a collective, then you might not have to go through what I went through. Your challenge is going to come in a different way, or you will be better prepared when a similar challenge comes your way, because you'll recognize, be like, oh, that's what, you know, that sister was talking about. And we need to do this in all aspects. We need to do this when it comes to love and relationships and finances and health and health and health, right? How many of us as women, nobody ever talked to us about menopause or menses? Damn it. Have the conversation, right? And so how do we begin to protect each other? Knowledge is power. And the only way to get to empowering folks is to share the knowledge.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you both for those answers. So the other thing I want to talk about, because I don't want to be biased. I may be a little biased when it comes to Black women. But I also know that we are a community, right? And what happens is us women get together, us powerful women, we get together, we talk, we share best practices. We, like I told you guys before, it's like preaching to the choir and the organist and the deacon board, because we all get it, right? We all understand it, we all see it. And as women, I think what may be lacking is a hard, authentic conversation with our men. This is what we want, right? This is what we want. And I don't know how many times I've been asked what I want, and I'm a woman of many words. And there have been times when I've been asked what I want, and I cannot clearly communicate that in a way that makes sense. So how am I then expecting some man or woman or someone I'm in a relationship with to know and understand what it is that I want? How do I want to be protected? How do I want to be loved? How do I want to be seen? How do I want to be respected, right? So we need to be honest in the fact that we haven't done that in a real way, right? We cover it or we code it with things like, I want a committed relationship. Okay, I'm gonna give you one, but you didn't line, you didn't clearly, you sign a contract. You, if you've ever gotten in a contract with a company and you signed on the dotted line, next thing you know, you're not able to get this, you're not able to get that, you're not able to do this, you're not able to do that, and you're sitting there like, well, why not? This was clearly put out in a contract, or that wasn't clearly put out in a contract. And we forget that in our relationships you have to be clear and concise, right? um because when you don't, you get what you get. And so we need to have more honest and truthful conversations. Now, as even I'm a Black Girl Magic ambassador, but I'm also a mental health peer-to-peer coach, right? And I say that and I hold my head high because there was a time when I first got my diagnosis that I couldn't say it in that way because I was ashamed. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was broken. I thought nobody could love me because I had challenges. But when I meet somebody, look, this is what it is. Take it or leave it, right? However, in my selflessness to share my story, I forget that that person has a story too, right? Because I'm telling you what I got going on, but how does that affect that person? How is that triggering that person? How is that person going to handle? Can that person even handle it? They may say yes because they don't know the ramifications of it, right? So we need to have real conversations with each other and with our families, because some of that triggering, some of that pain comes from either mom, grandma, sister, auntie, and we're not having these honest conversations. So the Black woman is not only need protection from the outside world, she needs inner protection, right? So with that being said, ladies, how do you, like, do you agree that um having more authentic conversations will bridge some of those gaps in the relationships we have, whether it be with family, in our personal or romantic relationships?
Yeah, I definitely think it will improve because right now I'm learning about systems theory, and we are all involved in systems in our everyday lives. And one of the most important internal ones are our families, and also the ones and also the dyads that we have with our significant other. So the first way to begin that healing, even within our own families, is to have that conversation with that one supportive family member. Because as the theory goes, once you change the relationship between those two people, it will, in some, direct or indirect way, create a ripple effect that might change the family. It might change it for the better, or it might change it in a way where there might be more important conversations that need to be had in the future. So I think you're right, Shimona. Just starting with the most important systems that we have are our families, because day in and day out, whether it's a favorite auntie, cousin, or other family member, we are in contact with our families in some cases way more than we are people outside of work.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Kathleen, what are your thoughts? Like, do you feel like that inner work of that inner circle protection can also, you know what are some of the ways in which that inner protection could work out, or bring forth healing?
I think the most important work is within ourselves.
Mhm.
I've got to go back to that respecting ourselves and that honesty with ourselves. If I can't say, wow, girl, you know what, you and that cheesecake are not really getting along. It feels good, tastes good, but you're not really getting along. If I can't look in the mirror and say that to myself and accept that in and of myself, it will never change if it needs to, right? And so all of that work has to begin inside of you. And we often put on everyone else what we need to do for ourselves. Because when you're looking at some of the dysfunction in families, there's love in our families. It's not expressed the way Brady Bunch did it, or the way Leave It to Beaver did it, right? But there's love, and there's dysfunction, and there's trauma. And we have to understand that hurt people are hurting, and hurt people can hurt people. And so we're not all at the same level of healing. So just because you're prepared to have a conversation with Aunt Suki doesn't mean that Aunt Suki's prepared to even acknowledge. She might not have looked in the mirror and said, this happened, right? My husband did this, or my son, did that and I failed, or this is very difficult, right? So begin at home within your own self, within your heart. And Danixa, you said something about respect that just, that triggered something in me, because if we don't respect ourselves, right, then we cannot even recognize respect when it comes from others, and we won't be able to receive, let alone give. And we also, as a society, have to take a look at what we are nurturing, what we are showing respect to. So somebody had posted on social media, I am exhausted. I am tired of being resilient. I don't want to be honored anymore or given respect for how much I've endured, or how many blows I've taken, or how hard they were, right? Why is this what we're giving people dap for? And that is great that you've been through, but this is often what we're applauding. Girl, you've been through it. No, how about, girl, you are doing it? How about, girl, you set that goal, you did it, you got it. We need to nurture what we want to grow and starve what we want to put a stop to. So don't give me a pound because I took a bunch of blows, because that's just going to leave me bruised, damn it. Let's talk about what good I'm headed for, right? Let's talk about, Danixa getting this master's degree, already educated and having a high power job. Shimona making sure that no matter what, at 8:00 on Mondays, we're going to have real talk. Let's give dap, right? Let's look at, my sister Farrah is on the line. What? Huh? Family in the house. And so let's give depth to that. And then she rolled deep and brought a friend. Like, these are victories. Let's talk about that and respect and nurture that, instead of, yeah, she's been through, and and her man left her, and this way and all of that. And that's just wonderful. No, it's not wonderful. It's not. Right. Let's use our trauma-informed lens to inform and empower and encourage towards love and respect and integrity.
Yeah. And a couple of things you said like triggered some thoughts in me. Is like, I have these conversations all the time, especially with myself. I talk to me a lot. But I'm often questioning, I'm always curious, what is respect, right? And like you said, you got to figure out what it is that you respect, because and again, like you said, you feed what you're always talking about, what you're always thinking about. So if you're always thinking about a triumph of a struggle, or if you're always thinking about some situation you got over, you're going to keep getting situations to get over, because now that's what you're resilient for. That's what you're known for. And, be known for something that feeds you, right? I want to be known for the person that a lot of people don't notice about me. I used to go to the spa every week. I would set aside $50 to go to the spa every week and get me a deep tissue massage. I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't say, hey, everybody, guess what? I'm going to the spa today. Y'all want to come? I used to go because it was my time, and I loved it. It was what I needed. Some people know, some people don't know. I used to be a part of a women's club called The Wing, that used to cater to freelance workers and working women. They used to have shared space just for women, but they also had a fitness room and a shower and late night classes for women to socialize and engage and share things with each other. We used to have panel discussions about different topics like this, or ways to connect. I mean, there were lawyers that were connected to this movement, to The Wing. There were people that were housekeepers. It was different type of resources. It was different type of connection, but it was all for women, and it was a connection. And we had printing access. We could use the phones, conference rooms, all that. It was amazing. So that was something I did. I shared that a little bit on my social media page because I thought it was a great resource. But I spent $200 and something a month, I want to say. Some people probably like, girl, why would you do that? What's wrong with you? At the time I had it to do it and I wanted to do it. I could spend $200 something real quick on absolutely nothing. I did something that was feeding me and I benefited from, right? And I used to bring friends there that were, having a bad day. Hey, come with me to the wing and just hang out and, lay on a couch. There's plenty of them, So, I say that to say like, we have to, none of this conversation is wrong or right? This is what I want to say. We have to do the core work. We have to do the inner work, right? And that means identifying if there's something upset in our spirit, right? For me, I was dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety, right? That was based on some family trauma, some of my own relationship trauma, some of my childhood trauma. I did the work on that and continuously doing the work because it don't stop, right? Because you continue to evolve and grow. Then you got your inner circle work, where now that you've dealt with your core, you understand where those pressure points are. You gotta address your people, and I hear you, Kathleen. Sometimes people are not ready, but you gotta set the tone because some people in those relationships will lock you down because you're afraid to not say this around them or not be this around them because of what they think about you. But when you have that conversation, say, aunt, whoever it is, you know what? That's how every time I see you, you mention my weight. That hurts my feelings. Don't do that. I appreciate it. Have a nice day. With love and respect. Now, if aunt such and such can respect that, hey, we just going to have the relationship we're going to have, but I'm going to be me. I shouldn't have to blow myself up in big clothes and shrink in a room because I know that you're going to point out this weight that I'm struggling with. I'm going to call you out on it with love and respect so that I can be in the room such as you, just as big and bold and proud, right? And then once we deal with our inner circle, right, we got to then go out in society and realize that as a society, we are one. When we go out our doors, we are connected to every person that we walk by, every conversation we have, every eye contact we make, we are connected to them in some way. I used to see people. I remember one time this girl was bawling her eyes out on a train. And I could have been like, ain't my business. Who knows what she going through, but it don't got nothing to do with me. I pulled out some tissue from my bag. I went and sat next to her. I didn't even ask her what was going on. I just let her lean on my shoulder and cry because it wasn't my business unless she wanted to share. I didn't know that woman from a hole in the wall, but she was connected to me. And now she knows that people do care. So it's all of it together. And in order to really protect the Black woman, we got to know and understand that that is what it is. Now, just to double back on what I said in the beginning about, what it looks like. Is it physical? Like, physical violence to me shouldn't be it. Not to say that it don't cross my mind every once in a while. I'm not perfect, right? But we really got to be careful, especially when you have a platform. What messages you're sending out about protection, right? I think it was Ricky Smiley who said that there was plenty of men in the grave and in jail for so-called protecting their woman or protecting their family, right? We really gotta, and some of us are like, oh yeah, it sounds good, but what about the violence that was bestowed upon us in the past? We didn't like that. We're still traumatized. We're still talking about it. Movie after movie is showing about someone being lynched or shot or hurt in a violent way. Most of our leaders who were trying to fight for our freedom were violently killed. But yet we are in 2022, got the nerve to go on social media and say that the way that we protect is through physical violence. I don't know. I think we need to evaluate, as we did tonight and continues this conversation, what that looks like and what that sounds like, not only for the Black woman, but for our culture, for our people, for our kids, for years to come. What does that look like? So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And I'm gonna ask my co-host for any final remarks they have. Kathleen, do you want to go first?
So I'm going to bring it right back to love, self-love, um, nurturing, protecting, preserving what and whom we love is really the cornerstone. And if you want to know how a Black woman feels safe, what makes her feel safe and protected and respected, ask a sister. We are waiting for someone to ask. As a single mom, I love to go to restaurants. You know why? This is the one place. It is somebody's job to come up to me and ask me what I want, how they want it, and can they get me anything else? And so if we could just have that in the rest of our lives, ask a sister, okay? And then and listen to her answer the question. Because we will. And so let's love, respect, cherish what we value, prioritize who we value and respect. And that will protect the Black woman. Because if you value your money, you're not going to be putting out $100 bills and dropping them on the ground, right? You're not going to be neglecting them and forgetting them. You're not going to go into unsafe environments and not keep an eye on your money. And we need to do the same thing with our little girls, with our young women, and with our grown ass, beautiful Black women.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Danixa, any final remarks?
Yes. It's important for us to remind ourselves that we are a collective and that, the survival of one benefits the survival of us all. So protection just looks like, just looking out for each other, not talking ill about each other, but also holding each other accountable, and
Mm-hmm.
also to just sharing the wealth, sharing information, creating networks within each other. We are so powerful, especially as Black women. And when we do things together, as history has shown, we can move mountains. So we just got to create that momentum and keep that momentum. And to harken back a little bit about what Kathleen said too, it's about love. Loving on our sisters, and loving means looking out and making sure we uplift at all times.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies. So we are nearing time. I just would like to say thank you again to everyone who joined. I do these chats every Monday night at 8. This is my contribution to the conversation about healing, growth, the growth of Black women. I am a Black Girl Magic ambassador. I will not apologize for that. However, I know that I'm a part of a bigger subculture of women. So all women are welcome to this conversation. Is not always about, zoomed in on Black women, but I just needed to have this conversation with all that's going on about Black women and this idea of protecting us, and just really coming to the table about what that looks like. And we need to continue to have this conversation. This was an hour of conversation, but we need more, right? um, because we need more voices, we need more insight, we need more say, and we need a plan. And I just like to say, just to add on to what Kathleen said, let's talk to our men some more. Let's help them understand. And yes, men, ask, how can I be better? How can I protect you better? How can I protect my sisters? How can I protect my daughters, my nieces, my neighbors, um, my woman, my wife, ask. So that was great. All right, everyone. So that is the end of Monday Night Chat. And I appreciate everyone's love and support for tonight. I want to thank Kathleen's friends for coming on. My sisters are on. Haywood, Shondell, thank you all for joining us today. And we really appreciate the support for tonight. And I want to thank Kathleen and Danixa for again coming and being my co-hosts, panelists, and sharing their insight. These are amazing women with amazing insight, and I learn so much from them every day. All right. So good night, everyone. Have some good sleep, and I hope you guys join us again next Monday.
Bye, everybody. Good
Same
night.
time, same link.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.